Hello everybody, I'm Oliver Hines, aka Domino's from MetalUnderground.com, and it's indeed an honour and a pleasure to say we're here with Mr. Mark Tremonti.
Good to be here.
Good to have you. Well, straight into it, you've got the new album out now, The Dying Machine, and it's a very special album because it's not just an album, it's a book as well.
Yes.
And obviously a lot of thought has gone into that, a lot of preparation.
Yes.
So how long had you had this idea?
I was on tour with Alter Bridge in Hungary, and it was about 20 minutes to stage time, and I was warming up, and I hit a chord progression that I really enjoyed, and started singing over it, and the lyrics, "You're a Dying Machine," came out, and I think I was reading the Dark Tower series at the time, and there's in the third book, Wastelands, there's a scene where there's a giant creature that's was part machine and was dying after like 2,000 years old, and I thought it was kind of a cool concept of a machine dying. And then I created this conversation between man and woman, the machine being the woman that was built and put on this earth just to be a partner of this man, and then she was kind of getting old and falling apart while all she knows is to please this man, and he's over it. So it's this. I love the journey the song took me on, writing it, and from that point on, I just chased it down.
Very good. I mean, reading the synopsis about it, it's interesting. It kind of draws parallels to some things, but in an homage kind of way. It's reminiscent of Blade Runner, but it's nowhere near the same story as Blade Runner.
It happens way before, like the Blade Runner series and the Terminator stuff and the Ex Machina. I think it would be more in the lines of an Ex Machina, but actually further along. Because this is the story takes place at the turn of the next century, and it's kind of the beginning of us experimenting with bringing a human into the world that's fashioned exactly how you want it to be. With they wake up with a history like they've lived an entire life, and it's for people who are lonely, people who can't, maybe they lose a child and they can recreate this forever child, or they can, a lonely man who would never find a wife and he could fashion the exact wife he'd want. Yeah. But the story is about one of the early instances of that, where a man he loses his wife and he creates this woman to, he'd feel bad being with another woman because he loved his wife and he was faithful to his wife, loyal to his wife. He figured this would be the next best thing, so he goes and he has this woman developed, and it goes kind of south from there. But
yeah, it's a very interesting idea, and setting it at the time it does as well is it's very smart because it's the not so distant future, really. Yeah.
And it could happen very soon. You watch
with people with the dolls and that kind of thing now. So
yeah, like in Japan, they already have these walking, talking, robots, and there's going to be all kinds of uses for them, and it's going to happen very soon.
Yeah. But was doing a concept album something that you'd always kind of dreamt of doing, I guess?
I never thought about it ever before doing a concept record. I was never a fan of concept records. I bought lots of concept records. I didn't even know were concept records. Like Seventh Son was Seventh Son. I just loved the record. Every King Diamond record. I just loved the records. I kind of knew what the stories were, but I didn't buy it because they were concept records. So when every time we put out a record with Alter Bridge or whatever band, everybody's like, was this a concept record? Like, I think people thought 83 was a concept record about struggles with faith and all this stuff, and Last Hero was a concept record about the flaw in our leaders. But they weren't concept records. They had maybe 3 or 4 songs that wrote the same way, but this was a concept record. It tells a fictional story. When I was writing it, when I got into the next song, I just had to sit there and think all day long. Where could the story go from here? What perspective? Whose perspective am I singing from on this song? And by the time I was, 12 or 13 songs deep, I need to make this more understandable to people, put it in a long form of the story, and that's when I got into the idea of doing the book.
that's a really special idea. I think it really fleshes it out.
Well, it's, I'm a big fan of authors and reading. I've been a massive bookworm, and one of my bucket list items in life is to get a book published. And I thought it was probably the most impossible thing to do. I couldn't do it. And finally, when this story came together, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try my best, and went for it. And I'm glad I did, because I love the way it turned out, and got to live that dream.
Excellent. I've seen quite a few fans comment on it that they want to see it turned into a movie.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're open to doing, or with everything that's going on?
We are hoping, I've got it in the right hands. There's certain steps you have to make. First we had to get the book done for the fans. So if I waited through the proper channels to get the book done, it would come out 3 years from now, and the record would be over, and people were like, well, that was yesterday's album. So I got the book printed, put out during this record cycle. Now it's time to find the right publishing house to worldwide distribution. And once you do that, then you start submitting it to production companies and whatnot for TV or movie or whatnot. But I think it would be a dream come true. It'd probably be the hardest thing to accomplish, but if I do, I'll be the happiest guy in the world.
Cool. There'd also been a lot of comments praising the writing itself, the character development and things like this. I know the book was co-written.
Yes.
So how much involvement did you have yourself with the actual dialogue and things like this?
Oh, I sat with John. When I first had the idea of doing the novel, I had written stuff before. Like I had a story that I had written for years, and I maybe got 110 pages deep into it, and then every year that goes by, you become a little better, and you go back, you read it, this is garbage, and you put it on hold. And then finally I got to this idea, and I started to try and put stuff together, and when I was just, 5 or 6 pages deep into ideas, I'm like, this is taking forever, there's no way I'm gonna finish this.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what I wanted to do with a big portion of the story, and so I was like, I'll find a ghostwriter and just kind of help me move it along quicker,
Yeah.
So I went through about 10 different authors and finally came across John Shirley. And what's great about John is he is a specialist in where technology's headed. So he goes and does Russell's TED Talks about singularity, and so when I say, John, this is what happens here at this point, he's like, well, there's a technology that exists that they're working on that's probably going to be in the mainstream in about 30 years. So yeah, we can explain around that. I know the terminology and all that stuff. So with him, I'd explain the story to him a bunch of times, and then we'd get on the phone and there'd be a little hiccup in a spot. I'm like, do me a favor, write down a synopsis of front to back, the story arc of how you hear it after I've explained it to you. So after I've explained it so many times, he takes a couple weeks and he hands me back a 27-page outline. So we went through it, changed what needed to be changed, but in the general picture we had what we needed, and then we kind of just dove in. And then the only thing I worried about is the story was going to be, I saw it crystal clear to about 80% through the story. I didn't know exactly how he wanted to end it.
Okay.
And so one day I don't know what I was driving or something, and this idea popped in my head, like that's exactly how this thing's got to end. And when you have that feeling, it's like finishing an album, it's like finishing a song. But I couldn't have done it without John, as far as the prose and the way he writes is, it's funny because we kind of conflicted when it comes to me, telling him the story and then him regurgitating it in a more
refined way, I guess.
More refined way. He would write a chapter and then I'd read it and then I would correct certain grammatical things. He's like, you're looking at it like an English student, this is not like that, so there doesn't need to be a comma, there doesn't need to be this, there needs, he writes kind of like halfway between a normal book and a screenplay sometimes, so the prose flies fast, and it's hard to take your old school stuff you learned in school and apply it to it, even if you've written before. And when you learn to stop style of a new writer. It's just something different. You know?
Okay.
Like Cormac McCarthy, try to edit his stuff. There's no way in the world you can, because he has his own language, way of writing.
Yeah.
So John has a little bit of his own way of writing as well. But I love, when I started talking about John about some opportunities to get this in the hands of maybe a TV series or a movie or this and that, I started to notice some of his styles changed more. I could see it more on the big screen and the way he was framing some of these scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that's when the story really started picking up for me, and then we revised some of the stuff. And it was probably the most satisfying, fun, creative moment of my life. I loved it. Seeing the character Stella come to life in the story after she's lived in my mind in the book. Telling John so many times I want people to absolutely love her. She's got to be, you know, actually seeing her come to life in the book was just awesome. Yeah.
Brilliant. Obviously, you mentioned Seventh Son of the Seven Funds. Well, you know the one, as a concept album that you're a fan of, and you toured with Iron Maiden over the summer. How did that go?
Oh, it was amazing. You know, Iron Maiden was my first concert I ever went to as a kid. I had Iron Maiden somewhere in time, big black banner on my wall. I mean, I love Maiden, and you know, being able to tour with them, and I really looked forward to saying up next Iron Maiden. You know, it was. By the end of the tour, I was doing you know, Iron. You know, so it's just amazing. You know, it was intimidating. When you get up in front of a crowd that big, that doesn't want to have anything to do with your band, you know, maybe there's a little groups of people that want to listen to your band, but 95% of that crowd wants the opener to get off stage so they can see their favorite band. So it was a good thing for us because we had to work our asses off to make sure that crowd stayed engaged, and I think we came out the other side a much better band, because it was, you've got to become a bigger entertainer than you've ever been when you're playing for that kind of scenario.
Absolutely. Like I say, having seen you before and seen you on a big stage, I know how well you can pull it off. So
just walking on stage, you're already gonna have like, all right, who's this?
Yeah.
Opening up for my favorite band. You know.
Obviously, A Dying Machine being the concept album and all this kind of foreplay into it, whereas the last two records I think were written back to back, Dust and the other one. I can't remember the name.
All in one writing,
So obviously the writing would have changed for this much, but how much in terms of the actual songwriting and long-term goal was different this time around?
I wrote a lot different on this record because it was, usually I write in bits and pieces. A lot of it happened because of, you know, like an Alter Bridge, when we write a song, me and Miles combine our ideas to create songs.
Yeah.
So you get used to writing two great parts that fit together, and then you get with your buddy and have his two or three, or, you know, we mix them together. So with this record, it was all about finishing the songs all at once. I wasn't diving in and holding ideas. I'd start an idea and I'd write it out till that thing was completely done. And sometimes it would take me 2 weeks to write one song. Sometimes it would take me 3 days. You know, but it was that was the biggest difference. Is if I was on a song, I was stuck on that song until it was done. So the hardest thing was to find the initial idea that was good enough to go sacrifice the next couple weeks of creation into that idea. So
cool. And obviously this is what you're concentrating on right now, but I believe Alter Bridge have started work on your album as well. Is that expected next year, and how much time can you still give to the Tremonti project and the Dying Machine touring cycle at the moment?
We're going to tour until until the holidays now, which is only another week, and then we go back out on tour with Seven Dust in the States in January, February, all of February till March, and then we hit the studio with Alter Bridge in March.
Sweet.
And April, and then after I finish tracking, I'll fly back here to Europe and do summer festivals with Tremonti.
Cool.
And it takes 3 or 4 months to set a record up, so I'll be touring while the record's being set up for Alter Bridge, and then when that tour's done, I'll jump on. We come over here in November with Alter Bridge.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to experiencing the Dying Machine for myself.
Tonight.
Thank you very much for taking the time to me, Mark.
Absolutely, thank you.
Bye now.